Hey, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Unshakeable Entrepreneur Show. Today I have a very special guest. It's Rebecca Bauer. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Hello. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. Yeah. Rebecca is a speech therapist. She runs proactive accent reduction and, she helps professionals like me who don't speak English as a first language to reduce accent and to speak with confidence and power. Welcome, Rebecca, to the Unshakable Entrepreneur Show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being around. Yes, so you run your own virtual show basically as an entrepreneur. You started not that long ago, yeah. Beginning.
Yes, a couple years back now.
Couple of years back, yeah. And I mean, this show is all about entrepreneurship. It's all about your journey from, in your case, an employee of an organization to an entrepreneur. It's all about challenges. It's all about things you want to share, which could help our audience to, in their own journey as an entrepreneur. Again, we have chat available. So if anyone wants to ask questions during the interview, please feel free to put them in the chat. And Rebecca and maybe I are happy to answer your questions. So let's start. Let's start with your journey, Rebecca. Can you tell us a bit, how do you got running your own business?
Well, I mean, I've been a speech therapist or speech language pathologist for over 12 years. And I've done a lot of different things in my career, and I've worked in a lot of different ways, mostly always in that area of articulation, so pronunciation and how sounds are made. So that's something I've been doing for a long time, and I loved what I was doing. I mean, I had a job, I worked for an employer, and I honestly don't think I would have ever left that job. I think it was something I loved doing. In the back of my head, I don't know about many other entrepreneurs, but there's always this little idea that maybe one day I'd love to kind of start my own business. But truthfully, in my head, I thought there's no way I can do this. There's no way I'd actually be brave enough to do it. And I don't think I have what it takes. So I always kind of I played with the idea, but I would never have quit my job. Never, ever.
Your inner voice was holding you back, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I just never thought it was something I could do, truthfully. And then one day, I mean, like I had said, it was something I thought about. There was also an area in my occupation that really wasn't something like clients that I never really received. So I really loved working with adults and professionals and working with accents and accent modification or accent reduction, depending on what term you use. But that was never really something, those were not the types of clients that came to me. Depending on your job, it's very rare that would come to you. But it was something I really wanted to work on. It was just like a pipe dream, right? Mm-hmm. So one day I found myself jobless. So our entire company lost a contract. And I'm sure many people experience that at some point in their life. Somehow in my head, I thought it would never happen, but it did. There I was, I had nothing. And I was faced with a decision. I could either spend all my energy and my focus on looking for another job and do what I was doing, which felt very comfortable. That felt like that's an easy way to go. But I also thought, this is my one opportunity. Like I said, I wouldn't have been brave enough to do this otherwise. This is my chance. So, I need to take this. I want to take that moment and really think about, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? What am I passionate about? So I felt like it was in a way like a decision forced on me, but at the same time, it was still a decision. And I chose, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to possibly fail. I don't know, but this is what I want to do. So this is what I'm going to try. Yeah. So, I've done that, and I got to tell you, no looking back, it's the best decision I ever made. And I'm so glad I did it.
You see, I mean, it's awesome. Yeah. I mean, luckily you got jobless. Yeah. Luckily you got the job. And I love a phrase from my mentor, Tony Robbins. He's always saying, life is happening for you, not to you. And this is a perfect example, I mean, we all had situations in our past where something happened, and we thought, why is this happening now? And why do I have to go through this challenge? Why I have to face these difficulties? But in the end, you are happy that this happened. You are happy that you basically fall off and got up again, but went off in a different direction.
I always tell people, it was the best terrible thing to happen to me. It was like in the moment, it was a horrible time. It was a very bad time. And I remember talking to all my colleagues, we were all devastated. But I took a different direction, and I'm just so glad. And it was just such a blessing in disguise, because it was never something I could have said I would look forward to losing my job. But there you have it.
In retrospect, it was a great event happening for you, and now you run your own business. So tell us, what are you doing in your business? So you work with professionals, reducing their accent. How does it work? Do you have a system, a process?
Yes, absolutely. So I actually have it's a 13-week program. My clientele are generally, it's really varied. I have lots of professionals, so physicians, lawyers, IT professionals. I've got lots of business, real estate agents, CEOs, things like that. Like anyone who, these are people who have extremely high-skilled, high-level jobs. They're very proficient in English. Their vocabulary, their grammar is excellent. The thing that's standing in their way is that when they're speaking, their pronunciation is kind of a barrier for them. They're either not being understood, or they're not being or able to be effective in their communication. So, when a doctor is talking to their patient and their patient doesn't understand them, that is a huge boundary for this person. So, I work with people in all areas, and, sometimes it's even very personal. So, it could be just feeling just not confident when they're speaking, because they know that their English pronunciation is just so different. And, for some people, that's not a problem, because it's a lovely, like, exotic element, right, to their speech and to who they are. But that's not who I work with. I work with people who it's hugely affecting their life. It's affecting their confidence and their ability to do their jobs, sometimes their income too. But yeah, so I do a 13-week program. It's a very individualized program, very tailored. And so I work one-on-one with clients. I do very in-depth assessments, and I work by teaching my clients, not just, repeat after me kind of instruction. My instruction's very, I want my clients to feel exactly what they need to do to articulate sounds, so they will know for themselves that they're doing that correctly or not. And that way they're not relying on other people to tell them if it sounded quite right or the same, right? They'll know and they can feel it themselves. So that's my goal of my instruction.
Interesting. So it's 13 weeks. I guess you do an assessment in the beginning where you score them, you give them exactly the areas where they should work on. And then you probably work on these individual topics throughout this course of the 13 weeks. Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. The assessment is so important because, with anyone, your accent is so individual. It's so you. And, it depends on how long you've been speaking English. What age did you learn English? Generally, if it's any time after the age of puberty, your accent is fairly solidified. And, you might have had a Spanish speaking nanny for a couple of years growing up. This all impacts your pronunciation. And so a one size fits all system or program really doesn't always work. We need to kind of really hone in, find out exactly what sound differences are existing. And we're talking everything, the stress, the intonation, the sound patterns. And I do touch on grammar a little bit, but it's not my main focus, right?
Yeah. You said you primarily work with people who have an excellent English in terms of vocabulary, grammar. You work with professionals, so you can really focus on the individual pronunciation issues. Yeah. Every one of us has, we all, we are in a national crowd. We grew up in different countries and learned English in a different way. And it's amazing when I look at my kids at the moment, and how they learn English. They have a even more comprehensive vocabulary that I had in this time. They really learn a lot, and it's very fascinating to see how they develop. Yeah. So you do this online, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, everything's virtual.
Anyway, with the situation.
Whether by choice or not, actually, kind of funny that it was a time where doing virtual sessions and meeting maybe a therapist or an instructor online wasn't your typical thing, and it was kind of out of people's comfort zones. So it came just kind of before that. And people were always asking me, so you're not seeing people in person? That was the question I'd always get. And so now it's kind of an obvious thing. But I remember it being something people were thinking, like, are you sure people are going to want to do that virtually? And I knew it was possible, and I knew it was something that would give me a greater grasp for clients. But it has been awesome. It has been excellent. And yeah, it's a very, really, really excellent way to do instruction. So I'm happy with this method.
Yeah, and you can work internationally. You can work with people all around the world, and it's also easy for your clients. They don't have to come to you. Yeah, they don't have to see you in person. They can book this like a meeting, and off they go with their session. We all did this big mindset shift in the last year, that online is now the way to go. And at least for me, it really changed my life to the positive. I get more things done. I have a broader network with international people, and I think it's great. But I can also imagine, because we also talk about challenges here. I can also imagine that working on your own could be challenging sometimes. Yeah. So how is it for you when you go to your office on a Monday morning after the weekend, and you have to start again? What obstacles you see? What challenges do you have, and how do you overcome them?
Well, in terms of doing virtual instruction, those challenges in terms of being around people or having, your colleagues that you used to be around, that kind of thing, that hasn't really affected me, because when I meet with my clients, it feels like I'm with them, right? So in that respect, it feels zero, like there's zero difference. I still have that connection, and I have that. And I also do obviously have other groups and entrepreneurial groups similar to what you have, right? There's a good kind of support network with that. In terms of obstacles, there are always obstacles. I feel like since becoming an entrepreneur, I've realized obstacles they're never going away. They're not going to go away. There's going to be a new one every week, every month, every year. There's always new. My first obstacle was just starting, right? That was the biggest thing for me, just to take the leap of faith and to start. The next thing is really, it was learning new skills that I had to significantly improve, right? I'm a therapist, I'm an instructor, I have those skills, but learning all of those other things that I didn't really know were involved has been quite the obstacle. So, you're always learning, you're always taking courses, you're always upping your skills. I can think of the very first consultation that I had with a new client, and I remember it went really well, and I was able to kind of really explain, I knew I could help this client, and I knew I could express my skills to him. But I got off the call and I said to my husband, I have no idea how to sell what I'm doing. I'm an instructor, I'm a therapist, I'm very good at this, but I've never sold anything in my life. I don't know what I'm doing. And so it was a really big eye-opening experience that, I now have to really learn some incredible skills that are just way beyond what I know. So took lots of courses, lots of extra information, but it's really, for me, obstacles are more about learning. I'm always learning something new, and kind of overcoming my own fears. Because talking about finances or having someone pay for your product or your service, for me, was so uncomfortable. It was like, if I could avoid it at all costs, I would. So I had to kind of overcome a lot of things about myself and how I interact with people. And so that's been really hard, I think. But it's good. It makes you grow, right?
I just wanted to say, for me, problems are there to grow. Problems are there. For us entrepreneurs, we need problems to create services and products for our clients, because without problems, we wouldn't be there, And we have some interesting comments I will put in in a second. So yes, learning new skills is certainly one of the big challenges or additional tasks you need to do on top of your daily consultation. When you look at your clients, I guess they are from internationally, they're from all over the world. What are the main challenges your clients have in terms of pronunciation? Can you cluster them in nationalities? Say that Italians always make this mistake, Germans make this mistake, and so on.
Okay, yeah. So in terms of sounds, absolutely, there are very. There are similarities for sure, because every first language has a sound repertoire, so if you will. So there are sounds that exist in this language that may not exist in this language, right? And if I decide to speak German, there are some sounds I need to learn if I'm going to sound anyway really proficient, right? So it's all relative to where you are. In terms of goals, I think it doesn't matter really who my clients are. Their goals are always the same. So the goal is clarity, to feel like what they're saying is understood. And it's as simple as that. It seems like a simple thing, but for many people, it is such a heart-wrenching thing for them. And it's an everyday situation, like ordering coffee, talking to colleagues, just having a casual conversation and being asked, sorry, I didn't understand that. Sorry. And, we have to ask for clarity, because if we don't understand, we don't understand. But on the receiving end of it, it is extremely, people find it so frustrating and so, it really takes their confidence away. Right. And for some people, it even makes them feel like they don't want to speak. And so in a workplace environment, that you can imagine that really affecting someone's career, right? If they have incredible skills and knowledge and they're not expressing that, they're not showing that, their ability to move up in their position is really
limited.
Obviously, less possible. But in terms of sounds, it would be too much to explain if I would probably bore you guys all if I talked about the very specific sounds, because there's so many specific sounds per language. And there's definitely classifications or very kind of types of differences that you'll see from one first language to another. But ultimately, what matters is the goal language, right? So generally, there are some sounds that just don't exist from your first language. I need to teach you how to make those sounds that you've never produced, you've never heard, and sometimes can't hear. So it's really interesting. It's a very cool area. It's fascinating to me. I love it. I've always loved it since I became a speech therapist. So, like I said, I don't want to bore you with specific details, because I could probably.
No, it's very interesting. Probably also for our audience. I have an interesting comment here, which I show. A guy called Chris Rose. He can't sleep, so I wonder where he's watching this live. And he says that pronunciation can also be a blocker to communication even for native speakers. So
Absolutely.
very interesting comment.
It's funny because, typically speech therapists, or speech language pathologists, so we deal with pathologies, disorders of speech. So many people, typically we deal with it, especially in Canada, as young children, and we correct those issues with not being able to pronounce sounds. But sometimes it can go unchecked or just goes on until adulthood. And, I do work sometimes with people who don't have an accent and they truly have a disorder. So it's very different as a speech therapist. I'm a therapist for those who are truly having a disorder in their speech. And for those who have an accent, I'm actually working as an instructor because there's nothing wrong. There's no pathology. You're a perfectly intelligent, skilled person. And so I am just using knowledge that I happen to have about the anatomy and physiology and understanding about speech to teach something that is more of a voluntary change or difference, right? Yeah.
Interesting. And as Chris said, this also is important for native speakers. When you run your business, you have certain appointments during the day. Do you have any productivity hacks you use to really stay productive, stay on track? And because I know for all of us, there's so much noise nowadays. There's so much distractions coming in, and when you are working on your own, then really it's even more important to eliminate this. Otherwise you get drawn into something, and then the day is over, and then you ask yourself, okay, what have I done?
What the heck have I done today? Yeah. Yes. I know exactly what you mean. Really, it's distractions constantly. And I think because I am at my computer always, I've got my phone with me. There's always distractions. And I literally have to turn it all off. I don't let my phone is on silent. Any kind of notifications whatsoever about emails, they have to be turned off because it's almost impossible. It's just like a self-control problem, right? To not, what is it? Is it important? But yeah, obviously limiting distractions. But my productivity hack, if I were to give one, if I have one, it's really just about looking at my day, I would say ahead of time. So I know what my schedule will look like that next day. So I know where my clients are. I know what kind of chunks of time I have. So I'm a list person. I'm kind of a little nerdy that way. I have lists everywhere, and like old school lists too. I got like paper lists, I got digital lists, I got everything. I'm a list person. So I will always make a list of things that must be done. But I've learned that list is never going to be done, and that list is forever. Like it's not something to complete. And I used to look at it as something that I have to get done. And it's not like that for me anymore. I see a list as this kind of dynamic thing that's always changing. So I always prioritize. And I think, and I remember just kind of learning this from somewhere, I don't remember where, but looking at my list and saying, okay, is this going to have an impact on my goal? And what is my goal? My goal is to help my clients achieve their goals. So obviously that's high priority for me. My goal is to reach clients. That's a high priority. So is this task going to do that for me? Is it going to help me towards this goal? If it's not, to the bottom it goes. And truthfully, those are the things that I want to do, like the things that I really want to get done. Like, I don't know, enter some data on an Excel sheet or something. It's just for me, right? It's not going to do anything for my business. It's not going to help me move forward or reach clients or help my clients. It's more like, I don't know, I'm type A and I want to do that. So I try to kind of throw those down, and I let myself not get them done because it's not important. And I have to let myself do that. And then the other thing is I've also learned, and I think everyone's different, right? I don't know how long it takes you to get focused on your work, but it takes me 20 minutes at least. I don't know what I'm doing for 20 minutes. I can't tell you what's happening in those 20 minutes. It's like organizing my I don't even know. I'm pushing things around my desk. I'm moving files. I'm maybe checking out what I'm going to do. But by the time, let's say if I'm writing, by the time I actually get to that in the zone work, it's 20 minutes. So I will look at my schedule and see, do I have a half an hour? 20 minutes of that is definitely going to be somehow wasted in this mystery time warp, but I might get 10 minutes done. So in my previous life, I would have said, 30 minutes, I'll get 30 minutes of writing done. And now I know I'm not going to do any writing there. I'm going to choose some task that's a very small task because now I know to get that really good in the zone quality work, I need a good chunk of time. So I don't know if that's a hack so much as.
It's a very important realization. I mean, first of all, you have this mindset that a list is never be finished. It's very valuable because otherwise, I mean, when I look at my list, they are never done. No. They are never finished. And if you have the wrong view, then you get depressed. You get overwhelmed. You say, "Hey, I will never do this." And but as you said, lists are not there to be empty. And all these methodologies, zero inbox, whatever.
I know.
I mean, for me, it doesn't work,
Yeah. It's so hard. Yeah. You just have to, you have to also give yourself some leeway. And I think it depends on your personality. Some people are really great at that and they just really go with the flow type people. And if you're more of a like type A person, not getting a thing done on your list it's heartbreaking. So yeah, you got to kind of open yourself to just let yourself just focus on what matters. And it's hard to do. And I'm always working at it, always working at that.
And then the second thing you mentioned is also very important, that you need time to get in the zone. That you need these 20 minutes. And this is very interesting because whenever we are interrupted by something, be it incoming message, someone knocking on our door, or a phone call, we need this time. We need this time to get back. We need this time to get back into our focus. And imagine you've been disrupted a couple of times during an hour. You never get anything done. Never.
No.
So this is why it's so important to switch everything off. To really shut yourself off from the world. Otherwise, the world controls us.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And it tells you too, like, you might have this one thing that you really would like to work on. Like I said, when I write, I need a good amount of time. I just have to let myself know that I'm not going to do that today. I can't do that today. In 45 minutes, I won't get anything truly done and it won't be quality. So I will save that. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So planning, very important. You're planning your day ahead, but also, plan your week. I do a weekly plan every Monday morning. I sit down and plan and schedule my week ahead. Otherwise, Friday will be there sooner than I thought.
Yes. And like I said, you never get it done. So just be okay with that. Gotta be okay with it.
So how do you get new clients? So how does it work for you? Do they come to you primarily? Do you have to do a lot of advertising, marketing?
Yeah. So I think, it's a good question because, when you're starting out, you really don't have a large reach, right? And in my field, as a speech therapist, if I were working in pediatrics or, working with a true pathology, I'd have lots of connections. But because of what I'm doing, it's so very niche and in some ways kind of outside of a typical area of what we do. There's really no one else that I know that does this personally, right? I have to have I have to kind of connect with other people outside of this country even. But in terms of getting clients, really it's some of it's word of mouth for sure. It's a tricky subject though, because to talk to someone else about their pronunciation, it's kind of a taboo thing. And it's a hard conversation to have. I think people generally, they know they have this issue. They have this burning desire to correct and improve, and they're searching, and people are searching. And so most of my current clientele, I do advertising. Google Ads is probably my primary right now, but I'm working towards kind of other ways of getting that information out there so that people know. Truthfully, though, most people I meet, the first thing they say is, I have always wanted to do this. This has been something I wanted to do for years. I just never knew anyone did this. I had no idea this is something someone does, because it's such like a niche thing. So truthfully, I think most people had no clue it existed. And once they find out, they're ready to tell their friends, because it's really interesting, how much it impacts your life. The way you communicate impacts your connection with others, and it impacts your career. It impacts so much, right?
And a niche is such a great thing to be in, because you really have a target market. You know exactly who you're talking to. You can formulate your marketing messages exactly in a way that they feel that you talk to them. And I think it's a great. We entrepreneurs, we often think that, we need a big market to be successful. No, it's actually the other way around. The smaller the market is, so more you can penetrate the market, the more you can really have an impact and position yourself as a thought leader and really as a professional in this space.
Right.
So I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, in my case, because it was my passion, I kind of by default went into this niche. I mean, this area, this occupation I'm in is so broad that you could be working as a speech therapist in a hospital all your life, working with dysphagia or swallowing disorders or voice or stuttering or, many different areas. So it was just something that I'd met someone early on in my life, and, they found out what I did, and her issue was her pronunciation. She said, I have the hardest time being understood. And at the time, that wasn't what I was doing. And I was like, that's something I know I could help her. I have that knowledge. I have the skills, but it's not what I do. Right. So yeah, it's interesting. It's good to have that niche, if you will.
I completely, it's my view that a niche is a great thing to be in. When you look back at your life, basically, was there one thing which maybe you discovered as a child, which really helps you now as an entrepreneur? I mean, we had people here who said, they've been very curious as a child. They've been very curious in dismantling computers and everything, and this really helped them to become a successful entrepreneur. Is there something you, looking back in retrospect, thinking, thank God I did this when I was young. This helps me now as an entrepreneur.
It's funny. I can't think of anything as when I was young. And in fact, I would think, as the type of person I always thought who I was, I would be the opposite of an entrepreneur. The opposite. I kind of always felt like I want safety, like a job where I can, you just feel like what you're doing. You've got that kind of safety net. And I'm not really the type of person to kind of go out there, or I never told myself I was, right? I guess I told myself what my identity was. But I can't think of anything as a child in that respect. I think, though, like in high school, I was always searching for, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with my life? And I had a friend whose mother was a speech therapist, and I just thought it was so cool. And I just asked a lot of questions and did a lot of research. And it was like, that's what I want to do. Absolutely no question. So it wasn't early in life at all. And I don't think there was anything in particular that made me, at least I can't identify it right on the spot.
No, that's fine. But I think you are a great example for many people who are maybe either afraid of losing their job right now, or just lost their job due to the pandemic, or any other reason, and now faced with this decision: shall I become an entrepreneur or not? And in the end, it's just the stories we're telling ourselves. It's the stories that we are not good enough, that what we do is not needed, that we won't be successful, and all this BS stories, these belief system stories we're telling ourselves. And you said it very rightly that you just switched and changed your story, and suddenly you are free to work as an entrepreneur and to do your own thing. And looking back, it was the best move you done.
Yeah. And I will say, it was so scary. And, that moment when you're kind of lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to to grasp onto the simplest, way and just find that job. And I, for a little bit I did do that, but then I felt very disheartened because I knew that wasn't, I loved what I did, but it wasn't really my passion. And I knew I would regret never taking that opportunity, because I also knew about myself that once I'm in something very committed, once I'm in it, I'm in it. And similar with this, right? I had this conversation with my husband. If I'm going to do this, I might fail. And I had a lot of doubt. But our conversation really was, this is what I want to do. Full stop. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to not give up. That's it. So I'm just going to keep doing it, and I'm going to fail. I'm going to have weird moments where I wish I hadn't done that, or, just make mistakes. It's going to happen, and I'm just going to not give up no matter what, because that's what I want to do. And there's going to be a whole lot of bumps ahead. I know that. I'm a little scared for whatever might come, but it doesn't really matter, because I'm just going to keep going. And you just tell yourself, this is it. I'm committed to it, and I will do what it takes to learn what I have to learn to get there. So I just kind of don't let myself think outside of that.
With every challenge you overcome, you develop more skills. And then the next challenge will be more often bigger. But as you have more skills, then you will also overcome this one. And then more and more you become better, you develop more skills, and your foundation becomes stronger as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. And if I look back to myself, I would never have thought, my first fear was, I don't even want to put my picture up of myself. I don't want a video, I don't want anything. And what I've worked through, I don't even believe how that happened. But it's just something you push yourself over and over and over again, and you learn more, and you just get better. And you just have to, I guess, be brave and be willing to fail. And I failed. You just pick it up, right?
I always say also to my team, fail often. Yeah, don't fail twice on the same thing. Learn something. But especially the Germans. Yeah, we always want to be 100%. Yeah, and I hate saying this. Yeah, but if you look at the current situation where we're in Europe, yeah, or in Germany, and the situation where other countries in terms of the pandemic, we try to be over 100% correct, and with this approach, we slow things down. And it's not a time anymore to be perfect and to always do everything right. I always say progress, not perfection. Yeah, and
absolutely.
And this is what, especially entrepreneurs, this is what helps us and keeps us moving. So, and thanks, Guilford. I got another compliment for you. Great discussion. So, thanks a lot for the comments. And again, if you have questions, we're more than happy to answer them. It's an interactive session. It's live. This is why we don't record this and then just put it somewhere. It's actually live, and we are live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. We are live in our community, which I will talk about later, where also Rebecca is part of. So, yes. And please interact with us. So, yes. Is there any advice? You gave a lot of great advice to the audience already, but is there something especially you want to share, you want to give entrepreneurs, or especially people who are in a situation who are just starting out like you a couple of years ago? something you want to share with them. And
yeah, a couple things. I mean, one is having support. I mean, like you mentioned, your entrepreneurship group is perfect, right? Because you need some people who kind of understand what you're going through, and to help push you past your fears and all of those worries. So obviously it's a huge mindset shift that you have to do, but I don't know, I would say one thing of advice, one little piece of advice. I mean, for me, it was really hard. In the beginning, I would look at not competition, but other people in my field who were doing what I wanted to do. And at first it would make me feel very like I would question myself. Do I have the skills? Do I, how can I compare? And I had to remind myself, these are people who have done this for 30 plus years for some of these cases, right? I mean, you cannot compare that. What you can do is you can, one, look at it as an example. Yes, this person succeeded. That means it's possible. So that's one good thing. Trying not to kind of compare yourself, because you're going to fall short, especially when you're going to judge yourself really harshly, right? But the other good thing is you can look at these other examples, not only as, something to strive for, but also you can look at what is missing. What are they missing? And what can I add in value? What can I bring to the table that's very different than what they're doing? And in my case, I knew, because I'd been a therapist for so many years, I knew that, one-on-one instruction is significant for impacts for clients' outcomes. So I knew I needed to do that. I knew that feedback is essential. Having clients understand that I'm there with them and giving them unlimited support for my program. It wasn't something I saw out there. And I knew that that's going to make the biggest impact for a client. So I kind of you just look at what if you want to say competition, but your models are, and look at what do you think is missing and what do you bring specifically to the table that you can offer to make your offer just, something that's irresistible, right? So I would just say, don't look at it as competition. And if you find that's all you can do, then just don't look. Just focus on what you have to do, because it's just going to be harder, right? And it will take away that momentum that in the beginning you need it. You need every little bit of momentum you can get to keep yourself from having too much self-doubt, right?
I think it's a very wise comment. Don't compare yourself with others. I think many people they do this, and it's something which is deep inside us. But you can only lose. You can only lose by comparing yourself with someone, as you said, who's done this for 30 years. And always look at them. I mean, it's when you have it's all about growth and fixed mindset. When you have a growth mindset, then you look at others who are there yet as an inspiration, as an inspiration that someday you will get there as well, and someday, which inspires. I mean, I'm inspired by many big entrepreneurs, the Richard Bransons and the Elon Musks and how they're called in this world. And this really drives me, this really drives me to become better and to risk more and just do more.
Actually, speaking of, I'm going to cut you off there, Tori. Speaking of Russell Brunson, it was funny because I told you that story of me not knowing how to sell anything. I had no idea. In a moment, like anything to do with paying for my services came up, I kind of clammed up. And so I told my husband, this is a problem. So we actually took the Russell Brunson 30-day challenge. And so for 30 days, for 3 hours every night, put our baby to sleep. And that's when we worked on it. And we really worked hard. And it was, a really good skill to now have developed that came from my biggest weakness. So, similar to what you're saying.
Good. There's a great question from Guilford. Saying that as a solopreneur, you do everything on your own. This is how every one of us started. And but do you plan to outsource things in the future? First question, and the second question is, what is the thing you dislike doing the most?
Okay. Definitely outsourcing it's totally in my very short-term plan. Almost every month I talk about it. I'm like, I've got to eventually hire someone else. And I've not yet done that because I'm very picky and choosy about my clients too. I don't just take on everyone. I want people who are motivated and all of that. So I do plan on hiring. It is something that is my next, that's when I said there's some future things that I'm a little scared of. That's my next hurdle. Talking with lawyers and figuring out the rules around all of that, but definitely for another therapist, potentially multiple, and outsourcing definitely with advertising. I think, right now it's very low key. It's enough for me to work and do a lot of work. But if I want to expand, for sure, that's something to outsource. That is in the plans. And I literally talked about it yesterday. So it's definitely in the plans.
Because it shows that you're on a journey from an expert, what you are now, to a real entrepreneur who runs business, who not only works in the organization, who develops something which is sustainable and which not only depends on the individual like you.
Yeah. And something I just like the most, it's funny. I like all of it. Is that weird? I like doing the little accounting bits, and I like doing to be honest though, the more technical advertising thing, that's not me anyway. That's my husband. He does so much and we work together in such a great way. He's an amazing support. So I think it's not that I so much dislike it as it's not a skill I have. So, I definitely put my input in for that kind of thing, but, when it comes to like email lists and all that, I don't know. That's not my forte. But other than that, I think I like everything, which is a little weird, but I do.
Yeah, but it's a good thing that you have support and because we need to stay focused. If we do everything, then we don't do anything, and this is why I know this by myself, sometimes there are things which, I love doing this, but it doesn't really move the needle, it's just something which is I should better give to someone else. And I also have to work on that and
I would agree.
And work on that and basically focus on I call it the 3P. I have this 3P system, things where I'm passionate about. This is obviously very important. I don't want to do things I don't like. This is the first P. Then I need to be proficient what I'm doing, obviously. But, and this is the third P, I also need to be profitable, I can't just focus stuff which I basically lose money when I do this, So we all have our income goals for the year, and we can easily divide it by the amount of hours you work, and then you have your hourly rate. And
you can stretch yourself too thin.
Yes, and you have to ask yourself, is this really worth the amount of money, or should I rather hire someone to get this done? Yeah,
and you do have to look at your time and what you're doing. As my focus is just working with clients. I want to be talking to clients in my day. I don't really want to be on Google Ads trying to figure out little bits and pieces. Like that's just not I would say that's my least favorite thing, and definitely something to outsource. And is in the works for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. So is there? Looking at your couple of years now as an entrepreneur, what was your biggest success in this time? And you think back, so one thing where you said, hey, this really had an impact, this really was something which
I would say, there was 1 month that I was overwhelmed with clients. And that made me feel like, wow, this is amazing. This is, I was just so elated and just kind of relieved, right? Because there's always that worry, is this something long-term? Is this something I can do for life? And I knew it was something I wanted to do, but I would think, when you start to see the benefits of your work and the hard work that you put in, and, seeing that's kind of when I felt like, wow, this is amazing. This is working, and I can finally get a little bit of momentum in my direction rather than worrying about it, right? So a good month really helped me get there. Yeah.
Yeah, seeing the impact you have on your clients, and the
absolutely.
change they go, and when you work with them for a couple of or 13 weeks, and you probably can compare once they started, and doing all these little mistakes, and then after 13 weeks where they increased their or decreased their failure rate by whatever percent.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's really funny you say that, because literally every session I have with someone, I always ask, how are things? And I get these amazing stories every session. Like I actually knew what to do and how to, when someone asked me to repeat myself, I knew exactly what it was that I was missing, and I corrected it immediately. And it felt like, oh, I actually know what to do. Or, you have these stories. Someone had said to me, I've been asked 4 times this month by different Uber drivers if I've been here all my life. And, these stories really, because, and her pronunciation previously was impacting her ability to be understood, and to go from there to being asked if she was native or born here was just such a dramatic thing. So, I mean, every session I have, I tend to kind of make a little note of a story in the session. And that is just, I love that. That just brings me up to my happy level. But I get that every day. I just feel that as like nothing, like it's just my everyday. And seeing clients when they achieve their goals, that's my expectation anyway. So, I'm very happy about that, but I expect this too. So yeah, I do. Like I have an assessment before, as we had said, and I do an assessment at the end of the program. So I'm able to get a percentage improvement. And that's really nice just for those people who like that data too.
Like numbers,
yeah, I mean, some people improve so much more than others. It depends on the amount of time and effort you put in, how motivated you are. But to see the data too, and to know, these are the sounds you've really corrected, and there's just a couple left that, you just need to continue practicing. It's really awesome. It's the best job in the world. I call it job because it doesn't feel like work. I don't know why I did the quotes, but it doesn't feel like work to me.
Now you really made us curious. So how would it work if we would like to work with you? So where do we reach you? How would we start? Can you just tell us a bit?
Yeah. So I usually people find me through my website. So proactiveaccentreduction.com, or if you're in Ontario, it's proactivespeech.com. So
we put this in the show notes, by the way, the links, or maybe our team can put this online here while we speak for the audience. It would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and generally people kind of read through, get a good feel of what it is that I do, and the right type of client for the people that I work with. And you just book a free consultation. It takes 15, 20 minutes. We meet and we kind of decide, together, does this meet your goals? Is this what you're looking for? For some people, it's more, learning English, and that is not what I do, right? This is a much higher level skill. So I really do need to make sure that the people who I'm meeting with, this is the right goal for you, that you have the time for this, because it does take time and energy and effort, and that your motivations are to be speaking clearly, right? The goal is not to sound like a native American. The goal is to sound clear, precise, articulate, that you're understood. So book a consultation with me. And once we kind of decide together, yes, this is a right fit, I send over an assessment, some consent forms, things like that. And they just book their sessions in the booking calendar. It's really simple, kind of figure it out, work around your schedule. And we meet weekly. And yeah, that's how it works.
Well, for everyone who wants to meet Rebecca weekly and improve their pronunciation, we will share your contact details. And yes, I can imagine that this will be very helpful for many people. So
yeah, and just knowing that it exists for the first place.
Yes.
And I am actually working on a book right now. So when I say I'm writing, I'm actually
I wanted to ask you what you're writing.
Yeah, so I'm writing a book. I've been looking out and seeing what's out there and seeing all those guides. There's a lot of boring kind of guides. I wanted to make something that is really in depth, that has everything that I have in my head. I'm literally putting everything I know from my master's degree and my experience into this book. And so that I'm nearing the end process. I'm in the editing phase. So I'm hoping by the end of the year, I'll have it out. So that's the plan.
I just wanted to ask you, what's the deadline for the book? So by the end
of the year, that's my goal.
Well, now you committed yourself publicly.
I know, darn it.
So
no, it's good. I think I'll be okay.
Yeah, so there's the URL, proactivespeech.com, if you want to get in touch with Rebecca.
Yeah, and proactivepronunciation.com for anywhere outside of Ontario, for sure.
Yeah, okay, great.
Beautiful.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for your time and all the insights. Been really a pleasure talking to you. And,
yes, thank you for having me.
And I wish you all success and maybe a few more clients who are watching this show. And have a fantastic day. I mean, you are still early time for you.
Yes, mid-morning over here. There's still so much to do.
So we had people who can't sleep, so they're probably watching from the other end of the world. And for us, it's sort of the end of the day here in Germany, but you have your full day ahead. And before we close, I want to also mention our community of entrepreneurs. Because you mentioned this, that peer group is so important. The peer group, people who hold you accountable, people who support you on your journey as an entrepreneur. And this is why we founded this community. It's free of charge. So join community.sebastianschike.com, and you will be able to connect with a lot of amazing entrepreneurs. And so that if you want to have questions, you can talk to Rebecca directly in this community.
Yeah. It's an awesome support to have it. It's a good community to have. So
great. Thanks. So again, thanks a lot, Rebecca. Have a fantastic day. And for listeners, have a great week. And next week, we won't be live because we take an late Easter break. But in 2 weeks, we are back with our live show on Thursday afternoon or morning or night, wherever you watch from. Yeah. Have a fantastic day. I'm out.